Okay, I want to thank Dr. Dean Lloyd and Am Rosen for their presentation. We have a session coming up right now with Matt Navarro, JP from across the pond in Scotland, so I guess he's given up his dinner to speak with us, and of course Karen Quinn Tostado. I'm going to bring them in right now, and you folks are.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning back into the UnitedWeStrike.com radio marathon. I'm Matt Navarro. Karen is with us, and JP, please introduce yourself to us who you're new to who may be new to you in our audience.
Me? Well, there you go. I'm JP. I'm here in. Yeah, I think everybody knows who you are, Karen, don't they?
No, and it's a good thing.
I think you're more famous than that. Anyway, I'm over here in Scotland. I produce for Wall Spirit Radio on a Sunday. I help start it, and I have a show on Sunday night and Monday evening. Well, Monday night in Britain, but it's Monday afternoon in Pacific time, which is where we work. And I speak on esoteric subjects, which is the qualities of energy and what's going on in the galaxy, really. So that's where we kind of start, isn't it, Karen?
Well, and you also helped us produce in 2012. You helped us produce the 3-day marathons when I was absolutely crazy, thinking that would save the world. And you were there for quite a while, so you've helped us out on United We Strike before, and so I think some of the listeners are familiar with you.
Well, there you go. You might have heard my Anglo accent. You know, is getting around. I keep hearing it on different radio stations. It's quite fun.
Well, thanks for joining us. We want to thank our friend Lark in Texas, whose segment this is supposed to be, but he couldn't join us this month, and we had a pre-recorded segment that we were going to play of his show today, but we decided to hijack his segment so we can talk about a couple things. So, Lark, thanks for the segment, and we look forward to having you back with us next month. I know Karen and JP want to talk about like Earth-ending events, like the comet Ison sort of thing. I want to talk about an Earth-ending event, Fukushima. That is, to me, a ready concern that humanity needs to address currently now. Okay, so what we could do is have a talk about, you know, the more esoteric things for the first 15 minutes of this segment, and then we can switch over to Fukushima towards the second half. Does it sound like a plan?
All right, I'll see if I can get 65 million years into 15 minutes. Okay.
Well, what Alan had mentioned earlier about these folks online that predict you know, earth changes or spiritual changes, or, you know, they, at least to me, are interesting, but I don't put a lot of stock into that. I've seen too many come and go. I believe there's charlatans out there. I believe there's deliberate disinformation agents out there that are sponsored by corporations, government, whoever you want to name. And, you know, like the big flop was the Mayan calendar of 2012. I yawned through that one, but Karen, you had some thoughts about that you wanted to go over?
Well, I also was very much looking into all of that in 2012 because I wanted to know what's the big deal, and that's why I felt so compelled to push for the 3-day marathons there for a while to see, okay, maybe this is it. Maybe these energies, if they're coming in, it's time to use it. I felt very, very compelled. Actually, until August, I think, when I stepped back from the marathons, and thank you, Matt, for taking over, and also Detlef and Gary and Ellen for producing, but I don't see it. I keep seeing us, as Alan mentioned earlier, you know, we keep getting told that, oh, the evolution is coming, and we're going to be there, and or keep your head down and live so you can go to heaven when you die, or you know, everything is about keeping us from being here now, recognizing the truth of just how toxic our planet is, and getting our hands, hearts, and minds into fixing it. So, JP, yeah, I'm interested because I know Tolek also was on the marathon in 2012, and according to what he was talking about with the Galactic Federation and all this, which I'd love to see but haven't, we're supposed to, before this month is up, are we not, shoot up. I should be 10 feet and about 7 pounds, and you'll be 12 feet tall and 5 pounds. And I'm not seeing that happen. I'm not seeing different dimensions. So, ball's in your court. What's happening that we missed?
All right. Okay. So let's break this down a bit and talk about some of the events that are supposed to be happening as we speak. Now, one of the big events for me is this thing that they called in the 80s. They called it the ribbon, and they saw it coming out of Sagittarius, and it seemed to be getting bigger. And there was this thing. It was they were saying that they found this ribbon of energy at the edge of the solar system. They didn't say exactly where it was, but it was traveling towards the center of the solar system. They didn't say anything. Anyway, so what this thing appeared to be a ribbon, right? But now, if you now imagine that you're looking down on the galaxy from above, it's like a Catherine wheel, pinwheel, kind of galaxy form. And the Earth and the Sun is one of the stars in the very, very thin, fuzzy bit at the edge. It's really in the suburbs. And out from the center of the galaxy comes a ripple, a pulse. Now, galaxies are massive, huge things, hundreds of millions, trillions, billions of light years across. It takes 65 million years. Oh, sorry, it's about 120 light years. It takes 65 million years to get from the galactic center, which we see in the sky. The position in the sky is by the point of Scorpio. It's between Sagittarius and Scorpio, where the arrow of Sagittarius is pointing and where the point of the Scorpion is pointing. That's the center of the galaxy, the dark rift. Now, we see that as this kind of mass of stars, and somewhere in the middle there's a black hole, just, because we've observed other galaxies that seem to be the same sort of form. So there's this ripple that goes out from the center, and it takes 65 million years to reach the outer edge. And it's just about that we're due to the next one, because this is a cycle, it's a pulse. Now, if you imagine a living organism, it has a kind of central processing core thing that is like it's like a mind, and it sends out its thoughts across the matrix of its beingness, as you were. So it sends out a thought from itself, the center, all the way through, rippling out to the edge. And it takes, as I said, 65, 70 million years for this to happen. And and what that is right now, what we call God, the great intelligence, the great mind, the all that is, the beingness that is all around us. We are part of a galaxy. We're in the body of a galaxy. And there are billions and billions of stars, as there are billions and billions of cells within us. So there's this whole as above, so below thing going on. And what happens is that the center is what we would call radioactive. It is pulsing out radiation. Radiation can be good, can be bad, whatever. Now, some people also call this thing the photon belt. And it's basically, it's like a kind of, like I said, it's a ripple in space and time, and it's a ripple of all energies. It's just like a big burst of like white noise that has been coming towards us. It was supposed to arrive around the time of 2012. That was the arrival date. Now, we've had lots of disinformation and misinformation. Is it 2012 and 2013? But the basic effect of this is that we become like the galaxy. So the galaxy is pulsing out light. Then the sun gets affected by the galaxy's points pouring out of light, and then we get solar flares, like the one we had the other day, or yesterday, or the day before that. Do you remember solar flares? I remember solar flares. We got a solar flare this month. We were lucky, Solar
we
flares.
recently had one that missed us by not too much of a distance. At least that's what Alan was telling us earlier.
It was a big mofo, a really big mofo.
Right.
just like 2 days ago, and it just hit us 2 days ago. So anyway, just to keep going. So the galaxy pulses out, and when the pulse hits the sun pulses out. And when the sun pulses out, the Earth pulses. Right? We're in the midst of that happening. When the Earth pulses, we get to pulse. And this is what we call the ascension. Now, this is happening on a very subtle level before it happens on a more gross level. The way things manifest energetically is that they go down through the layers. So it would affect, for instance, the gaseous layer first, and then the liquid layer, and then later the solid layer. That makes sense. First it would affect the wind, then it would affect the ocean, and then it would affect the land.
Well, if it affects the gaseous layer, then shouldn't all the politicians be popping or bursting?
Aren't they?
Ooh.
Aren't they?
Well, actually, in a sense, yeah, they're being exposed more and more.
Yeah. And so when we're talking about the coming of the light, with a capital L, it's not like some kind of army. It's energy. Now, it is also accompanied by various other cycles that are timing for this moment too, including the ISON thing. All right, so here's my take on ISON. I saw ISON on the ISON. I saw ISON coming in, and the first thing I noticed is the damn thing had a tail. Right? Comets don't have tails; they have coma. Right? This thing is ejecting material all the way through its journey down into the middle of the solar system. So it's got this huge trail of crap, whatever it's made of, which seemed to be glowing blue-green. And I don't know what element that is. I mean, it's not copper, it's not sulfur. If it was iron, it would be red. If it would. And they call it cyanogen, and I'm thinking, cyanogen. Is that cyanide? So, we worry about this. So, you see, because the color of the material determines what element it is. That's what we call spectrography. So, this thing is pooting away, coming into the sun. It then goes on a really, really tight curve around the sun's surface. I mean, it really gets completely baked, and not in a nice way. And as it comes around the sun, it breaks up into even more pieces. It just becomes dust, right? But the dust doesn't just stop because it's got the momentum that it came in with. So it now has a slightly different trajectory because it's now just a cloud of dust, but it's still hurtling through the solar system. And in a few days' time, we are going to meet both of those trails. So that's one of the exciting things.
We could actually see then, if we had clear skies, a lot of meteorite events. Then that might be kind of cool looking.
It might be cool.
ISON didn't affect us like the gloom and doomers were saying. It didn't transform our world. We didn't become crystalline beings. Weren't transformed.
Right.
And so that wasn't an earth-ending event. But I look at, and here I want to transition into Fukushima because it could be an earth.
I haven't finished yet. I haven't finished this thing, and it's kind of important that I put all this across, and then we can talk about Fukushima because it will put it into a context.
Sure.
Okay. Sorry. So here's the thing. Now everybody's saying there was no fourth dimensional shift. I say, how do you know? All right. Now, how do you know what you're looking for when it's never happened before? Yeah. Okay. So the first thing.
Fourth dimension.
Yeah. Exactly. What does it look like? How does it work if we're here? So I just want to talk about my personal experience in the last year, is that in 3 separate occasions, one in April, one in November, one in December, I was apparently, quote, ill. Okay? Now, that's not, what's unusual about that. I got what I thought was food poisoning. I basically threw up, down, and sideways, and basically emptied my body. Now, before that moment, I was a meat eater. After that moment, I didn't want to eat meat. It wasn't like I felt sick because of it. I just didn't want to eat it anymore. And it represented the death industry. So like eating meat is actually an investment in the industry of death, which is not exactly harmless. And that's not exactly what I want to be, you know. So I got this, basically an evolutionary impulse that said, walk a higher path. Don't be so harmful. You know, stop inflicting death on the world by supporting the death industry. This is an interesting way of thinking about things, rather than the morals of this or the morals of that or the ethics of vegetarianism. You know, it's nothing to do with that. It's like, don't invest in the death industry, and then you can start causing some peace. So that was the first one. And then in November, I then stopped eating bread. Now, so to go from the, which is again a death inflicts industry. You know, you can't eat your fruity pops in the morning because they're full of E's and GMOs and all this stuff. So now I'm speaking for myself, but at the times I was speaking to all the other like radio psychics that I know and speak to, and I produce radio shows for, and everybody's like, "Oh man, I couldn't get up yesterday. I couldn't get out of my bed. I felt really sick." And everybody would have certain specific places in their body where this would be happening. And according to the esoteric teachings that I've been talking about for the last few years, this is exactly in line. The chakras have specific developments and changes that go on during the what we call the initiation process. What we call initiation is what people call ascension. And so when you have a series of chakras, they'll have certain characteristics. So, for instance, there's a sacral center, at the bottom of your spine, and people will get a backache. You know, the bottom of the spine. So it's like there's a changing in the energies of the sacral center, sacral chakra, and it's a decrystallization of our relationships, and that's what starts to break down first. When people ascend, they start breaking down the relationships that they had because they were abusive. And you go from wrong relationship to right relationship, and you move from there onto the higher levels. So this is going to happen to everybody, and it happens naturally and organically.
Who says so? Who says so? I mean, how do you prove that? See, that's where I lose a lot of this. Wait. You've had the floor for a while. You've had the floor, and I wanted to talk about Fukushima. You know,
as I said,
these claims,
65 million years.
Yeah, this claim, I hear these claims a lot, and you're just you're another person that talks about this seriously, and but I don't see the proof. I don't see the guy next door to me having this consciousness raising. Okay, I don't see it. What I do see is that along the West Coast, people are taking measurements of radiation that are elevated, and they haven't tested it just so far, but radiation that could be here from Fukushima, which is probably, and if it gets worse, an extinction level event. Now I can put my finger on that. I can say, okay, if they test this beach and the kelp has cesium-137 in it, then we know we're getting radiation from Fukushima. I can put my finger on that and say, yes, that's true. I have to protect myself and my family from that radiation versus, well, we may turn into these fourth dimensional beings, but I'm not seeing that. And this just goes back to the Mayan 2012 calendar where, I yawned and just planned my morning breakfast the next morning on the 22nd, knowing that I'd be here and the world would still have gravity.
All right, I hear you. Okay, I do hear you. And this is the world of the esoteric is subtle. It is subtle. You cannot put your finger on it. That's what it's about. You can't put your finger on it. However, it does have effects, and you see the effects filter down because they start in the mind and then work out through the emotions into the physical. Yeah, go from the gas, the liquid, and the solid.
But who came up with that theory? Can I look that up on the internet and say, okay, this Harvard study or maybe this University of Hawaii study says that these energies coming from this ribbon from the center of the galaxy to the solar system is having a physical effect on us. Can you point me towards that?
Yeah, I'm telling you. This is my experience and the experience of my straw poll. I can only give you my opinion. I'm not a scientist.
Okay.
I have no recognition and I'm not authorized. Right? However, this is the age of non-authorization. Authorization is the whole domination matrix. You want to get into that stuff, you have to go there, right? And I'm not wanting to go there because that's what's destroying itself. That's what's destroying us. I don't subscribe to it and I don't fund it.
When you say it's destroying us, I mean, I look at the Federal Reserve, that's destroying us. I look at chemtrails, that's destroying us. Yes, our thoughts, our spiritual awareness.
It all comes from. I'm sorry, Matt. It all comes from the Vatican. It all started with the Roman Empire, the Catholic Church, and how it's expressed, and all forms of authority, like scientists and approval, all comes from the same system. That's what I'm saying.
This is going to take us way off topic here.
Okay, we got a problem. We got a problem.
Right? We got a problem. Fukushima's
a fucking problem, right?
Right.
And
so
there are ways to deal with it that the government has that they won't release.
Right, and I'd like to know. I'm trying to get a hold of somebody to come on my show for next month to talk about Fukushima, who's an expert on radiation and what's being done or not being done there, because this is could be, if you get a criticality in reactor 4 or 3, it could mean the end of life on the northern hemisphere. Now that should concern everyone. The fact that we're reading elevated levels of radiation on the west coast of the United States, where I live, where Karen lives, should be concerning. That people are finding dead sea creatures at the bottom of the ocean floor that was normally not covered with sea life. That should be concerning to people, and I don't mean to sound disrespectful, and I'm not, because I study this stuff like you do, but not so much for the purposes of I guess alerting the public on a right now basis. Things that I watch for or do to help combat radiation is like take chlorella that's harvested out of Iceland, or I take the diatomaceous earth. I've started taking the nascent iodine that Alex Jones talks about to help with the thyroid. See, these are things I can help do now in the physical.
Yeah, and you can eat kale and broccoli and all those things have got iodine as well.
Right, and the fact that on January, what is it, 14th, we're supposed to have this massive transformation. Jan, give me some more of that chlorella, please.
You never know. Yeah, it might be that Fukushima blows and we all get irradiated, and that's the transformation.
You
never know. Here's the thing. You don't know what's going to happen, and you don't know what your karma is, and you don't know what's going to... We really don't know whether cesium-123 is going to burn everybody senseless, or whether it's going to transform and create some kind of catalytic reaction that then heals itself.
That's
don't know.
True.
We don't know. Also, hang on a second, Karen. I'm sorry, I know you need some space, but you can also, if you know how to talk to the elementals of the world, by knowing what the elementals of the world, you can ask them to do it for you. You can ask the elementals of the world to create bacteria to change whatever you want into whatever you want. That's what they do. I'm sorry, Karen. Go ahead.
There's also, I've recently been talking to someone who I interviewed for Dinah. I helped her out. She was ill this last week, and he is into microbes. He has 125 different species of microbes that are thousands and thousands of years old. Yeah, that'll eat everything. We're going to get some to put in the soil. One of the things that I am looking forward to as a ramification of that is they decompact the soil. So, Matt, Even though it's raining here this weekend, we are lacking in rain. Deborah Tavares was talking about that also. But these microbes can actually get in there and loosen up the soil so that it needs less water. And I think that's important. And not only can you use it on the soil, you can use it also on your pets. And I believe that you can most probably also use it within, although I'm not a doctor, I'm not telling people to do that, but I will say that if we get these, you can bet I'm going to be trying that out, as well as looking into the cannabis juice. I mean, there are things out there to heal us, so possibly this Fukushima, as well as all these other natural disasters, are also encouraging us to wake up, to think with our hearts, to understand our job is to be good stewards of this planet, and we need to stop everything in order to start to do that.
Guys,
so
we need to start thinking about a wrap. We've only got about a minute and a half here.
Well, as they say, from me, no fear, eyes open. Thank you.
Thanks, JP, for joining us today. You know, it's late over where you're at, and you have a lot to share, and I'm sure it's very interesting information. Do you have a radio show or a website you can tell our folks
Yes.
to where to listen?
Everbeyond.info. You can. I've got my radio shows and I've got my archives there. So there's all this stuff. There's, well, you know, when you talk about energies, you talk about loads of stuff. Anyway, thank you very much, Karen, for bringing me on. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, whoever is on the other side of the little smiley.
That's Gary. That's our great producer, Gary.
Gary,
thanks, JP. Yeah, and
bless your heart. Hi,
Karen. Gary. Yeah, Karen, you get the last word. Thanks. It's been it's been nice to talk to you live this month.
It's great to be here live this month. It does definitely feel like old times. And JP, you've given us something to think about. I don't have any fear either. As a matter of fact, for New Year's Eve, we had bacon-wrapped tiger prawns and lobster on the barbecue. And I enjoyed every bite, because if I am going down, I'm going to have fun. They're not going to take away everything that I enjoy. Now, I'd like to bless my food. I bless my water. And I don't have any fear. I just kind of figure that my little songs I sing of praise, I go out, I am living my life, which I also want people to think about, though. The 15th is coming. The only reason we're not living our individual lives is because we've been trained out of them. But the good stewardship of this planet, if you believe that comes first, and securing a world for your family, join us. Break that momentum this 15th. Talk to your friends. Step out of your uniform and into your lives, because you're being used. We've all been used, and it's time to start again. United we strike. United we win.
And on that one, we've stolen a couple seconds from our next presenter. I'm going to have to cut you guys loose. Thank you so much.